The desert stretched endlessly under a blazing sun, its golden sands shimmering like molten glass. The wind carried fine grains that scratched at skin and metal alike, coating everything with a thin film of grit. Out here, survival wasn't only about defeating the enemy, it was about enduring the desert itself. Captain David Mercer adjusted his goggles inside the turret of his M1A2 Abrams. His crew had been pushing across the barren expanse for days, hunting a well-entrenched enemy armored division. Across the dunes lay the ruined remains of an old caravan town, now turned into a stronghold where enemy tanks, camouflaged under nets and sand, waited like predators in ambush. Fuel at 60%. Ammo full load, reported Sergeant Lewis, the gunner, his eyes scanning through the thermal sight. "Roger that," Mercer replied, his voice steady though his throat was dry. "Stay sharp, they'll come at us fast once we break the ridge." Behind Mercer's Abrams rolled a column of American tanks and armored vehicles, their engines roaring like beasts of war. Dust clouds followed them, betraying their movement. The desert was unforgiving, no cover, no concealment, only speed and firepower mattered. At the crest of a dune, Mercer raised his binoculars. A shimmer on the horizon betrayed movement. Then, he saw them. T-90s, crouching in the sands like coiled serpents, their cannons already elevated. The enemy had been waiting. "Enemy armor, 2 o'clock, range 3,000 meters, Lewis called. "Driver, punch it forward," Mercer barked. "All tanks engage. Fire at will." The desert erupted into chaos. The first Abrams belched fire, its 120mm smoothbore cannon hurling a sabot round across the dunes. A distant T-90 exploded in a fireball, its turret thrown skyward. But the enemy responded with equal ferocity. Shells screamed across the desert, slamming into sand, tearing open the earth in great geysers of dust. Mercer's own tank rocked violently as a round struck the glassy plate. The crew gasped, but the Abrams' thick composite armor held. "They've got us zeroed in," Lewis shouted. "Return fire, fast," Mercer commanded. Lewis's hands danced over the controls, aligning the crosshairs on another T-90 weaving between dunes. He squeezed the trigger. The recoil thundered through the turret. The shell found its mark, armor-piercing, unstoppable. The Russian tank burst into flames, its black smoke curling into the sky. "Good hit," Mercer yelled. But the desert battle had only begun. The dunes trembled as dozens of enemy tanks surged forward, their engines growling, their tracks churning up storms of sand. From the ruins of the town, anti-tank missiles streaked into the sky, their contrails slicing through the heat haze. One slammed into an American Bradley IFV, flipping it into fire. "Missiles from the right flank!" cried Corporal Harris, the loader, shoving another shell into the breach. "Suppress that town. Air support inbound, but we've got to hold until then," Mercer shouted. His Abrams roared forward, leading the charge. Shell after shell flew, each one a deadly lance of steel. The enemy answered in kind. Tanks burned, metal shrieked, men screamed. The desert wind carried the acrid stench of burning fuel and scorched flesh. Through the smoke, Mercer spotted a massive enemy command tank, a heavily reinforced T-90M with reactive armor tiles glistening in the sun. Its cannon rotated toward them. "Command tank spotted," Lewis shouted. "Take it out," Mercer ordered. Lewis fired, but the sabot round exploded harmlessly against the reactive tiles. The enemy tank returned fire, and the round struck a nearby Abrams, blowing its turret clean off. The crew inside never had a chance. "Damn it, we can't crack it head-on," Mercer growled. "Driver, flank left. Keep us moving." The Abrams roared, swerving across the dunes. Enemy shells tracked their movement, each one whistling death. Harris loaded a heat round. "Up!" he yelled. Lewis fired again, this time targeting the tracks of the command tank. The explosion ripped apart its left side, immobilizing it. The beast was wounded but not dead. Its cannon swiveled toward Mercer. "Brace!" he yelled. The shot came, but at the last second, another Abrams from Mercer's unit slid between them, taking the hit. The tank erupted in fire, sacrificing itself to shield the captain's crew. For a moment, Mercer froze, rage and grief boiling in his chest. "They gave us the shot," Lewis whispered. "Finish it," Mercer said coldly. The next round slammed into the command tank's weakened hull. Fire burst from inside, and its massive turret lifted off in a catastrophic explosion. The crew inside was vaporized. The desert trembled in silence for a second, then the battle raged anew. Hours dragged into a blur of fire and steel. Both sides suffered heavily. Smoke pillars dotted the desert, marking the graves of men and machines. By mid-afternoon, Mercer's unit was down to less than half strength. Ammunition was dwindling, and the enemy still held strong positions near the ruins. Suddenly, the radio crackled. "Falcon Squadron, this is Eagle Command. Air support en route. ETA, 5 minutes. Hold your ground." 5 minutes felt like a lifetime. The enemy surged with renewed fury, perhaps desperate to finish the Americans before air power arrived. Mercer's Abrams was now the tip of the spear, leading the survivors in a last push. The sandstorm of war engulfed them. Mercer's loaders' hands bled from constant reloading. Sweat drenched their uniforms. Every breath tasted of smoke. Then, disaster. A missile struck Mercer's tank square on the side. The Abrams rocked violently, alarms screaming. The armor cracked, systems failed. Inside, flames licked at the compartment. "Fire! Fire in the engine compartment!" Harris yelled. "Driver, stop! Everyone out!" Mercer shouted, but Lewis cut him off. "No time. She'll blow any second." Mercer looked around. His crew, men who trusted him, who had followed him through hell, were staring back. "Go," he ordered. "I'll cover you." "No way, Captain," Lewis protested. "We leave together." But Mercer knew the truth. The tank had seconds left before it erupted. He shoved Harris and the driver toward the hatch. "That's an order." They hesitated, then obeyed, clambering out into the inferno of battle. Mercer stayed behind, his hands gripping the controls. The enemy tanks were closing in, their silhouettes looming through the haze. If his Abrams was to die, it would not die uselessly. "Come on, you bastards," he muttered. With a roar, he drove the burning Abrams forward, straight into the formation of enemy tanks. Flames consumed the hull, but Mercer kept steering. At point-blank range, he fired the last shell. The blast tore through an enemy T-90, igniting its ammunition. The Abrams slammed into another tank, metal grinding against metal. The heat was unbearable, the flames devouring everything. Mercer's final thought was of his men escaping, of duty fulfilled. Then, the world became fire. From the sky, the scream of jets shattered the desert air. American F-16s roared in, dropping precision bombs and Hellfire missiles. The sands erupted as enemy armor was obliterated in thunderous firestorms. The surviving American tanks regrouped, rallying behind Mercer's sacrifice. The tide turned. By sunset, the battlefield was silent except for the crackle of burning wrecks. Black smoke rose like funeral pyres across the golden dunes. The enemy division had been shattered, its survivors scattering into the desert.